Shooting it raw?
Yes, shooting it raw. Okay, I have 5 images from you, and you said you wanted to replace one of them.
That's right.
And okay, so the first image I have is of you. I'll describe it and tell me if you want to replace it. So the first image I have is of you wearing a really nice jacket, a really nice pink scarf. You have a beautiful, beautiful smile. It's an honest smile because your eyes are practically closed. It's so real. Behind you is it's a curtain with RTHK, the RTHK logo
Oh,
on it.
right.
And then you're pointing to, I guess it's like a 3 symbol. Now, is this the good image? Or you want to use a different one?
Yeah, that's a good one. We can keep that.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm assuming it's you pointing to a Radio 3 logo of some sort.
Right.
What's the significance of this image?
Well, it's not the image itself, but being able to be at their live stream. So I was invited by one of the radio hosts to come there and speak about my memoir. And as exciting as it was obviously like nerve wracking.
Yeah.
And so being able to do that was just so thrilling and humbling at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not about being at RTHK, but it's just being able to share what I wanted to share in terms of my book and talking about the journey and all of that was so powerful that it left me feeling even more inspired. So when I left, that's the picture. Hence, I'm like, super excited. And
Oh,
then,
fun.
yeah, it was truly.
That's great. So we've never met. I know nothing about you, which for me is just like you're a present, and I'm just unwrapping the gift wrappings.
Okay,
Okay, so you wrote a memoir,
correct.
and you look very young. So what's
Okay. Whatever you want to ask. I'm pretty much an open book. So yeah.
great? But okay, so do you want to talk about the memoir? Or do you want to talk about the meaning in your life to get to that point? You talking about it?
Okay, so I'll talk about the memoir first because it gives
Sure.
you a framework of why I was at RTHK, which kind of goes back to the photo.
Okay.
The memoir, in a nutshell, was a dedication to my late grandmother. And as a matter of fact, as I was writing it, she was alive. So it was me just writing my memoir because I felt I had something to share. But in the midst of writing, she passed. And
Oh.
not only was it heartbreaking for me because she was my world,
Mm-hmm.
um, it made me reflect on what exactly I was writing about. So the
Mm-hmm.
entire narrative and direction of the book changed drastically, and it almost became what I call like a love letter to her, because the book wouldn't be the book had it not been for everything that she taught me. So, A Girl's Faith, which is the title of my memoir, is me sharing snippets of my childhood. And a lot of it goes back to everything that she taught me. And that's why I was able to transpire and come out the other end from the darkest places of my life.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Now, did you grow up in Hong Kong?
I did. I did.
Okay. So your name. Okay. So now that I look at your face, Karina Calver. What's so? Look, share a little bit about who you are, so people can,
Okay.
or so I can get to know more about
Okay.
you.
So, what do you want to know? There's a lot about me. So, where do you want me to break it down?
Okay. So in 60 words or less, summarize your whole life.
Woo!
I'm
Okay. I'll
kidding.
give
I'm
it a
kidding.
shot. I take a challenge really well.
Okay.
I'm born and raised here. I'm Indian by
Okay.
descent. So Karina Calver is a name I took upon when I got married. So
Okay.
that's not my original name.
Hmm.
So that's why it gets people confused. So it's just stuck on, even though I'm now divorced and I'm not, but it's still a name I use and it resonates, so it's fine
Okay.
until I decide to change it again, and that's another story altogether.
Right.
So I was born and raised here, and went to an American school and then went to HKU and all that kind of stuff. So I basically have been here most of my life.
Yeah.
My parents are divorced. Well, not legally, and that's another story.
Uh-huh.
And my mom lives here, and my dad lives in the Philippines with his second family.
Got it.
Hmm.
Okay. So here we have, how many books have you read? Written, sorry.
That's my first, and I'm in the midst of writing my second.
Oh, wow, respect. Nice.
Oh, thank you.
What caused you to kind of have that? Because generally speaking, there's a kind of an impulse or kind of a drive to say, okay, well, I need to put this, I need to put the hours to actually make this into to collect this book. Now it's a memoir, so
Hmm.
you're telling essentially like a family history anchored on your grandmother.
Well, no, it's more like me sharing what she taught me and how it gave me the platform to rise through the worst of worst times. So, in a
Oh, wow.
nutshell, a girl's faith not only focuses on her but my journey. And what I
Yeah.
mean by that is I'm an incest survivor. So
Oh, wow. Okay.
I experienced that for over a decade. I mean,
Oh, shit.
roughly about 15 years. So my life only began a lot later in life.
Mm-hmm.
So when I came out the other end, and what I mean by that is after therapy and after getting all the help I needed to realize that, okay, I'm actually in a really good place now. And that was
Mm-hmm.
quite some years.
Mm-hmm.
Then I decided to come out and talk about, rape and abuse and harassment and all that kind of stuff. And then I joined a couple of women in Hong Kong, and we collaborated and did the Me Too movement here, and just to bring awareness about, because I'm very pro men, but it's not a, so it's really educating about consent and all the gray areas about it.
Mm.
So that was the starting point. No, let me go back. The starting point was when I decided to go back to university and get trained as a counselor. So I did a second master's in it, and it just made me realize that there was so much more. It was really helpful, and there was so much more I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
That was a starting point in, if you can call it, the awakening journey, the
Right.
journey of wanting to not just be the best version of myself, but to be able to share that with others. So that's when I collaborated with some of the really amazing women here. And we did a whole lot of series of workshops. And then people like, hey, you should do a podcast, da da da. So I'm like, nah. So I got people, like a whole lot of people reached out and said, why don't you come onto my platform, as a guest? We would love to have you. And I was like, oh, okay. So I
Wow.
did. And one thing led to another. And then the book came, and then more podcasts, more interviews with SCMP. And, so it just kind of, the ripple effect started.
Okay, so I had no idea, and
It's
this
okay.
happened. No, of course, and sometimes when sometimes this happens, and it's like a. Sometimes the bomb is slow to explode, and sometimes
Mhm.
it's just like boom, right? And
Yeah.
obviously, to be able to one express it into a book form is one practice, because that's a lot about revisiting these difficult memories, or articulating around these difficult experiences. And I imagine that to get to that point took a lot of therapy and work and growth, and but
Hmm.
then to put that in the public
Hmm.
is a very, well, it's incredibly generous, but not in like generous in a humanistic sort of sense, where you're
Yeah.
saying, okay, I need to heal, and I want others to heal. I want to help others heal.
Well, I only wrote the book when I knew that I had come to a place of forgiveness.
Okay.
So recently, it will connect to some of the other pictures, but recently I was invited to be a TEDx speaker for HKU.
Okay.
And one of the things that they wanted me to talk about was forgiveness. And it
Okay.
was beautiful for me because in the Western world of counseling, forgiveness does not come in play.
Okay.
For me to live my life in the way that I feel is liberated and wholesome, I
Yeah.
felt accepting what happened isn't enough. Being able to forgive, whether it's myself or the situation or the perpetrator, i.e., my father, was really important for me to be able to feel free.
Mm,
And not just on a physical level, but on an emotional level, as well as on a spiritual level. And
for
when
sure.
more often than not, you have people who will talk about an experience that they had, whether, and I'm not even talking about rape, right? It could be just an argument they had last week with a friend, and they still hold on to that with so much anger or pain.
Hmm.
And that's what holds us back from living in our best life, in the
Yeah.
present moment, right? So I felt forgiveness was such a paramount topic.
Mm.
And I only wrote a girl's fate when I knew I made peace with it, yeah.
Can I just ask a clarification? Is
Sure.
it a girl's fate, Fate, or Faith?
TH. Yeah.
Faith. Got it. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. You studied at Hong Kong U.
Yeah, so I did my undergrad at Hong Kong U, my first master's in Hong Kong U, and then I did my second with in Melbourne with Monash.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's why I did my counseling, and I haven't. Yeah, it's been monumental in terms of
Okay.
changing my life. Not that everything else wasn't good; it was great because it's still I'm still a high school teacher, and I still love to write, and I still write. So all of the stuff that I've learned actually have been really important in my career.
Uh-huh. This is what's fascinating and for me exhilarating and great about the podcast is I get to meet people.
Yeah.
And so as we talk, I'm getting the connection with you through your voice and your
Mm-hmm.
story. But
Mm-hmm.
as we talk, I see this lovely, beautiful photo of you pointing to the logo. I guess after you did the live stream, radiating, you
Yeah,
know,
it was so much fun.
awesome. I really hope anybody who's listening to this, just from your energy, feels. I'm sure you must hear the word inspired a lot. So, are we going to go into more of this idea of forgiveness later, or do you want to move on to the next photo at this point, or how would you like to do this?
It's up to you. I'm free flowing, so whatever works. I am like a bubble.
Okay,
Champagne in a way.
I love it. Okay,
Yeah.
so let's go on to the next photo.
Sure.
So, is life really a gift? Really? Can you make every second count? That's the whole point of the podcast. So, if you like what you've seen and you're inspired, because that really is my mission, then please give it a like, subscribe, and share.
Shooting it raw?
Yes, shooting it raw.